It's the fall of 1981. I'm a love-struck 17-year-old who just spent the whole summer with a girl that had no business dating a guy like me. But now it's back to school. She's gone back to her high school. I've gone back to mine. And it's only taken her about a month to realize that for herself. So on a cold day in October, she breaks the news to me that it's over and the good times come to an abrupt end. I would have done anything, and believe me, I tried everything to win her heart back. I stayed friends with her. I was cordial. I made sure that we could keep seeing each other as friends, But in the background, I'm planning, I'm scheming, I'm working towards a return to boyfriend status. Sometime in January of '82 now, I put in for a transfer from my high school to her school, justifying it that I only needed 4 more credits in the following year to finish high school, so there was no need to stay at the school I was at. Her school was on a semester system, so I could be done in January. Of course, the obvious reason was so I could be closer to her, like a creep. So come February, I'm building this beautiful house of cards, and everything in my mind is moving along so well that I make a proposal to her. Would you like to start dating again? Her response to that? Not really. Whew, that house of cards came down like a hurricane had hit it. I was blown away, lost out to sea. So I had a couple of good friends of mine, my best buddies, Steve. Steve was indirectly responsible for me meeting that gal through his girlfriend's girlfriend. It was her friend. Anyway, long story, but he might have felt a little partially responsible, but Steve saw things coming from a mile away from the beginning. I remember him mentioning that this girl made him think of this song Hotel California. The specific line in it, she's got a lot of pretty boys that she calls friends. I wasn't a pretty boy, he's talking about others. So Steve, yeah, he's sorry for your luck, buddy, feels bad for me. He feels pity for me. Not that I needed any more to go with my own self-pity. But my friend Ken had a different approach. Ken was outside of our main circle. He was my friend. The rest of my friends knew Ken, but I met Ken before high school. We'd been pals longer than everyone else. Ken had been on his own, but from the age of 16. He was working full time and going to school. He worked nights and went to school, finished high school, but he was on his own for a long time. And for that reason, he was forced to grow up a bit quicker than the rest of us. He was a bit more mature. I guess he had, through real pain of survival, he had a different survival instinct than the rest of us, I guess. And his approach was completely different than Steve's. He didn't show any pity or sympathy for me. He changed directions on me. His response was, dude, you got to get yourself a motorcycle. Wow. I was a lover of two-wheeling all my childhood, like bicycling everywhere. And I loved anything with a motor in it. But my parents didn't share that passion, and so I wasn't allowed to have anything with a motor on it. So that passion hadn't been satisfied. Ken had bought a bike already. He'd been riding around that summer, so he was speaking from experience. And he's like, dude, you gotta get a motorcycle. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good idea. So he takes me for a ride on his 1975 Kawasaki KZ400. Ken's 6'4". he's on this 400, but it was his first bike, and smart bike to buy for your first bike for sure. He takes me for a ride on it, and then we stop at a parking lot, an empty parking lot, and he shows me the gears, the clutch, the brake, the throttle. Here's how the thing works. He's brave enough to let me take the bike for a spin around the parking lot, and with his coaching, I managed to get the thing rolling, and I did a lap around the parking lot. Never took it out of first gear, just went around the parking lot, came back to a stop, and that was it for me. I gotta have one of these, and like, let's go now. I don't care, I gotta get one. This is it. My mind has completely shifted now. And so we go to Power Cycles in Windsor to go see Iggy Power, the owner of Power Cycle, hence the name. Iggy has a university degree in psychology. I'm not kidding. I didn't know it was a thing. Iggy also had a 1974 Kawasaki KZ 400 for sale. Wouldn't you know it? It was almost identical to Ken's. It was the same color blue, but this beauty had a airbrushed white Pegasus right on the center of the tank. Beautiful flying horse, the Flawed horse, if you will. How can I not buy this thing? Well, I didn't have the $500 I needed to buy it, but and my parents weren't going to lend me any money because even though they weren't going to kick me out of the house because all three of my brothers were moving out in the same year, they weren't going to lend me the money. But I had a grandpa, my oppa, who was always interested in a little family drama. Here you go, have fun. So I got the bike. I had to go get a light bulb, or a bulb for the neutral light, because it was burnt out, and if I couldn't see the green, I didn't know what gear I was in. So other than that, the bike was pristine, and Ken spent as much time as he had to with me, getting me out of first gear and getting me rolling with the thing, and he taught me how to ride. I got my beginners. Now I was a 17-year-old biker. I was still a heartbroken biker though. And so other things needed to happen, but boy, this was a big start. I'll say in hindsight, the lessons that I learned from this were that, number one, it's super important to have good friends. Number two, to have a friend that knows exactly what to say at the moment is life-changing, literally. The other thing I learned was everybody offers condolences and pity and sorry for you, buddy, and this kind of stuff, and it's all well and good, but wallowing in self-pity, wanting other people to sympathize or give you pity, is just, it's a road down to victimhood, and I didn't want to be a victim. Ken's approach was, I guess you would say, empathy. It sucks, buddy, but here's what we do to get you back on your feet. That was an important thing to learn, and I keep that in mind when dealing with other people. As I said in the intro video, and if you haven't seen that, I'll link it to this video, but that saying, everything happens for a reason, boy, if someone had said that to me then, I probably would have strangled them. Ken's approach was much better. The third thing I'll say that I learned, or maybe it's the fourth thing, but anyway, another thing I learned was, and I mean, this is, I'm a 17-year-old with raging hormones, right? Love struck when you're not really love struck, but it sure feels like it. Being so obsessed with another person that they can say one phrase, one word, one phrase, and it devastates you, is not a healthy position to be in. Don't let yourself be in that position. And it's not their problem, it's your problem. So this is part one of this story. There's quite a bit more to go. We're just getting started. I needed to get away, but where was I going to go? Danny was going out to British Columbia for the summer. there was probably opportunities for other employment there had I chose to come venture out and join them. The plan's set, there's no changing it. I'm going. It might not have been a very well thought out plan, but it's meant to be. I've got my place to escape to.